Hey, and we're live. That took a while. You don't know because we just went live for everybody. Listen, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite Average to Good podcast, Call It What You Want, where we have good to great guests because we have a very special guest joining us in a little bit. Ashley Cole, arguably the best left back in Premier League history, is going to be joining us. That is awesome. I'm really excited for that. But Chuck, Tones, let's get into our weekends. Tones, what'd you do this weekend? Give us a highlight.
I feel like I'm going to tell you the same thing. I sat on my fat ass and I watched games all weekend, and that was it, man. That's what you do on the weekends here with everything going on. And yeah, look, MLS is heating up. Watched all the guys, as many as I could, that are playing in Europe right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, not too much. Spent some time with my family, obviously. So yeah, it was a good. I'll call it a normal weekend, Jimmy. How about that?
A normal weekend.
Yeah.
Sitting on your fat ass. I got plenty of time for that, Big Tones. I was doing the same. Chuck, how about you? Any highlights from this weekend?
Normal fall weekend. Games, coaching, watching, the revolution, disappointing. I mean, what else is new? So,
oh, man.
Hey,
wow.
I got to tell you this, though. So I'm coaching, right? It's our big rival local derby. So last year, this is the team where the parents were going at the ref. I said, hey, guys, simmer down. They're coming at me. And then we
yeah.
Hey, yeah. So now, first start the game, the parents, I can feel like everyone's excited. We score within the first 3 minutes. We're playing nice football. I said, okay, here we go. I'm pumped. Now, their keeper, Tony, you would have absolutely loved. He stood on his head. I'm talking the performance of his lifetime. This little kid, upper 90, tipping it out. You know, I'm like, okay, it's one of those games. They level a score like just before half, a shot from near half on the ground to our keeper, who's his first real season playing.
Sure.
Through his legs. And I said, okay, we're not using our hands today. It proceeded to go that way. We lost 5-1.
Wow.
So it was like a learning experience.
Like you throw the goalkeeper under the bus.
No. I
sound a little bit like that.
Hey, no. I told the boys, hey, we got to win 6-5. That's on me. But hey,
hashtag Davies out. Davies out. Right
Davies out. Banger.
Can I tell you how jealous I am of you guys coaching still, man? I hate not coaching on the weekends, man. I did it for so many years. I'm so jealous when you talk about these things.
Yeah, maybe you change the formation, or you're too stubborn to change it. Charlie Amareem is what we maybe should call you. Yeah. You know, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But do you get it? Wait. Before we move on, do you get to play them again at some point in the season, so there could be some redemption, or was that it?
That's it, my friend.
Wow.
That's it.
Did you park the bus like Pep did this weekend?
No, we're not an Arteta team at the moment. We're PSG. We're PSG.
PSG.
Love it, man.
So basically, you're like PSG. In
the you were more like Inter in that game. You're more like Inter.
All right.
We're Club World Cup final. Chelsea.
Club World Cup final is PSG. I love it. All right. So there were some performances from our player pool this weekend that were probably better than average to good, I would say. Some man of the match performances. So Americans abroad, notable performances. Here we go. Christian Pulisic recorded 2 goals and had an assist in Milan's 3-0 win versus Udinese. What a performance. He's on one. Malik Tillman scored the only goal for Bayer Leverkusen in their disappointing, ultimately 1-1 draw with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Joe Scally was up there getting chances on goal, playing a little bit higher up the field for their interim manager. And Gio Reyna came on with about 10 minutes left to go. That was Borussia Mönchengladbach. They scored on a corner in the 94th minute. Their only goal of the season so far in 4 games. So 1-1 draw. Leverkusen have to be disappointed. Tanner Tessman scored the game-winning goal in Lyon's 1-0 win versus Angers. Congratulations to Tanner. Ethan Horvath made 4 saves in a clean sheet and a win versus Portsmouth. Alex Indejas. This was an excellent game. Really fun to watch. Monterrey hosting Club America. He had a game-tying assist with about 5 to 6 minutes left to go on a corner kick to tie it 2-2. That was a lot of fun. Club America's jerseys way too busy for me. The numbers are like different colors in the jersey and the sleeves. It's just too much for me. I'm just throwing that out there because I was due to my concussions, I was having issues watching these jerseys running around. It's just too much going on. Let's talk about Christian Pulisic though, because he has now become the highest scoring European or American-based player in Europe to score in the top 5 leagues. I probably didn't say that right, but hopefully everybody's picking up what I'm putting down. And Chuck, I'm going to come to you first before we get to resident Milan fan Tony Meola. I was really impressed with and continue to be impressed with, because this is 4 goals in 5 games for him in all competitions, because he scored in the Coppa Italia. And there's a game they're actually playing today in the Coppa Italia as well. We'll get into that in a second. But just the fact that he is being trusted in a way and just puts the team on his back, and just to do it consistently. No Rafael Leao, but he's the guy. This is Christian Pulisic's AC Milan. And if you would have told me we would have had a player there 5-6 years ago that was doing this, I would have been like, dude, what are you talking? What are you smoking? What are you drinking? All the drugs I could put out there, or all those. I just wouldn't believe it. But here we are, and it's really impressive to see him do this consistently.
Yeah, it is. Whether he's coming off the bench or he's starting, he's making an impact, and he's proving to Allegri, but to Milan supporters, to the players, that he is the guy. I think he's slowly growing into that role of, let me win the game for Milan. I'm the game changer for the club. So in terms of what he's able to do, I love that he can play on the right, he can play on the left, he can play central. He's always found a way to get on the ball. His runs off the ball have been fantastic. And then 1v1, he's a killer. And I think that's what we've always seen from him, but it seems like now he's got a real directness to his game. And so you can't argue with his impact for Milan in Serie A, just top notch.
Now, Tones, before I get to you, a little fun fact or story I want to share. I had an opportunity to go over to Milan maybe 2012, 2013 with Kick TV. And when I was over there, we were welcomed warmly by Umberto Gandini, who was an executive for Milan for 24 years, was the vice president of the ECA, the European Club Association. Very, very important figure. And we hit it off. And so he came to New York maybe a month after that and said, hey, let's go to breakfast. I was like, you're calling me to go to breakfast? I'm just, and it just blew my mind. So I went and met him for breakfast, and he goes, hey, we want to get bigger in the States. Like, how do we grow Milan's brand in the States? I said, well, you got to get an American player. And not only get an American player in your team, you need to trust that American player and play that American player. And now here we are 12, 13 years later, where that's happening again consistently, where Christian Pulisic is being the guy. And it's incredible to see. I'm still kind of marveling about this whole situation, but it's not a one-off, right? Like maybe with Chelsea, there'd be times where he'd be the guy, then you wouldn't see it for 6, 7, 8 games. But it's like just week in and week out, I feel like if Christian's not playing and he doesn't have a goal contribution in some capacity, they're just not the same team.
Yeah, they aren't. And keep in mind, right, this is without a partner, really, or without a steady partner. It's been Jimenez up top. There's been no Rafa Leao.
I like the shade of Santi Jimenez. I love that.
No, but I mean, he hasn't played well, period. That's the reality. He hasn't been good. Had opportunities. So he's had to take a bigger role. And now in a new position. I love the fact, though, that Allegri, who you guys know I wasn't a huge fan of the way that he plays, and he's allowed this team to play. Now he's got pieces behind him with Modric and Rabiot has been really, really good. So like he's being able to flourish. But guys, I can only go back to the interview that we had with Christian and the one that blew up, right? The one that everybody talked about. What did he say in that interview? He's like, I did this so I could be ready for next year. So we all said, okay, you did this. Well, you better be ready for next year, right? Like you better be flying come next year. And that's exactly what he's doing. And we can only hope, and we've seen some signs already, that this translates to the national team. He has been outstanding. And by the way, hasn't started every game, right? Nope. It's not like Allegri still has him in a rotation, which I don't think he can do anymore. And then when Rafa Leao comes back, they'll figure it out. But Christian has been outstanding. And Charlie, you hit the nail on the head. He is taking people on like we didn't see last year. He was getting on the end of things last year, but now he's going at 2 and 3 guys and slaloming through. I mean, he just looks really,
we saw that in COVID Christian with Chelsea when that one game I'll never forget where he tore Liverpool up and he was running at guys and you said, okay, this is the player that Chelsea were hoping to get. And this is the guy that we need Christian to be. And then for whatever reason, the playing time, the demands, the expectations, the relationship broke apart with the coach. But now we're starting to see him really own it with Milan.
I remember that game. That's when Jurgen Klopp gave him a big hug afterwards and was like shaking his head.
Did he score a header off of, didn't he? Is that the game he scored his right foot, left foot, and a header too off a corner kick, that Liverpool game? I think it was, right? He had the game where he had like the I don't know what you call that when you score with there's a name
hat
for it.
trick, natural
hat trick, whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
he had a
left foot,
header
right foot
off
header.
a corner kick at the near post. I'm like, oh, okay, he's flying now.
All right. So our friends at Morning Footy on the Golasso Network, and if you're not tuned into Morning Footy, we have questions about you and your life, but so you should be watching it, and they have replays in case you miss it when it's on live. So they did a segment where they ranked the top 5 Americans to ever play in Europe. And we need to get into their list. We need to discuss this because number 1, they have Christian Pulisic. Now, he just turned 27. Is it too soon for him to have that? We're seeing some comments, obviously, saying no. He just passed Clint Dempsey as the
he won a Champions League.
He won a Champions League.
He scored against Real Madrid away. Now, it wasn't at the Bernabeu because it was the COVID, and they played at the training center. But you take nothing away from that. So,
yeah, no, I don't think you're going to have any real arguments that he's number 1.
No.
Yeah, you're not going to have that. Clint Dempsey, number 2. This is the list from Morning Footy. We'll discuss it. We want to give everybody's thoughts as well. DeMarcus Beasley, number 3. Brian McBride, number 4. And Michael Bradley, number 5.
All right.
Where, Chuck, you seem like you're ready to go on this. And any you like the order?
Read that list again.
By the way, this is field players only, right? Field players only.
Yeah, field players only. That's right.
Dumb rule, by the way. Dumb rule. But go ahead.
Like I said, real players only. Okay.
Pretty sure that goalkeepers are also on the field, but they're not considered field players. Christian Pulisic 1, Clint Dempsey 2, DeMarcus Beasley 3, Brian McBride 4, and Michael Bradley 5. Mm-hmm. What do we Chuck, you like this order, or do you feel like it should be different? We missing a name?
Yeah, when I think of U.S. men's national team players performing in Europe and having a reputation of being a good, I think Claudio Reyna has to be on that list.
Instead of
who does he take off?
Who does he take off?
Michael Bradley.
Okay, all right.
Oof.
Yeah, Michael Bradley had an incredible career, but we're talking about Claudio Reyna here. No.
Yeah, but remember Michael Bradley when he went to places that people weren't going, especially the move that he made.
He went to Holland.
Roma,
he went to Heerenveen,
to Roma,
to Mönchengladbach, right? Heerenveen to Mönchengladbach to Roma. Yeah, but essentially he went to Roma to be almost like a rotation player.
But he still played. Still played.
Claudio was like a player, and he played in the Premier League as well. Michael went to. I think he went on a loan year to Aston Villa, but he never broke in.
Yeah, that was a short thing.
Yeah.
Villa was short.
Like, I think Claudio, not only was he a Premier League player, Man City, Sunderland, but Rangers, and this was before that. So you're talking about guys didn't go to places. Claudio was playing in places where guys didn't play.
Man, Bradley played over. I'm doing quick math here. Played 200 games more than Claudio. 280. I'm doing quick math. Yeah, more than 200 games, more than Claudio. And I don't know how much.
But is there something to be said for? I think Claudio got in there first in some capacity, where he kind of paved the way for a Michael Bradley to come in and get more opportunity. I don't know. I don't know if that factors into it for you, or if it's just basically numbers and games.
Hey, Jermaine Jones is a great shout too. I mean, he's got to be for sure over Michael in this case. He played Champions League.
Yeah.
Michael never played Champions League.
I would, me personally, I would take that one over Claudio. And not that I'm trying to disparage Claudio at all, but 200 plus more games, and like that's a lot.
That's so how many more games does Jermaine have than Michael?
Michael played over 100 games more. I'd have to count the European ones. About the same. I'm doing quick math here, but somewhere around the same European games. 300 to between 300 and 350. So yeah, look, I would take Jermaine shout over the other one. Don't forget Steve Cherundolo. I mean, Cherundolo had acquired at one club with. I don't know who I would knock out though for Steve.
In a top 5 European league, right? In Bundesliga.
Yeah.
I do
help
agree
them get to the Europa League. Bocanegra, does Bocanegra come in?
Bocanegra for sure. I mean, he's not top 5. Again, these are guys who
I know.
Honorable mention, right? Top 10, right? Claudio, I think just deserves a mention. And you could swap him out with Michael or not. I think Jermaine for sure in this list would be top 5. And I know you could say, okay, well, he wasn't, go through the American system, but the guy performed at the highest level and played in Champions League and was a phenomenal player. I think Aguchenye was also top 10. I mean, someone who played his whole career and worked his way up through Belgium. He got so unfortunate that he suffered that knee injury in 2009 because the guy just signed for Milan. Right. Yeah. So that's also one of those players that meant.
Where does Tim Ream fall into this for everybody? Given
he's had an incredible career too in Europe.
I think we're running out of players for our top 10.
Yeah. well, I think Anthony Robinson would surpass, right?
Jedi, at some point.
Yeah. Serginho Dest, he's going to be up there. Tyler Adams is going to be up there, scoring a goal for Atletico Madrid in the knockout rounds of the Champions League, right? So,
yeah.
Quietly, these guys are moving up the list, right? But
right.
If we took out, Weston McKennie, another guy who's been in Europe his whole career, man, there's a lot of top candidates.
So someone sent me this list for that morning show, just asking an opinion. And they initially had Chris Richards as 5th in this, and then they put in there, is it too early for him? And I said, yeah, I think it's too early to be on this list. I think if we do this list, 10 years from now, he might be on that list. Yeah. Right. But I think for now, as good as he's doing, I think he's too early for this list right here.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And Christian.
Would Chris Richards go over Tyler Adams and Weston McKennie?
I mean,
you don't know, right?
No, I'm saying at this stage right now.
At this stage. No,
not right
now.
Weston probably not. Tyler. The problem with Tyler is that he plays like a very unattractive position when you talk about like awards and when you talk about lists, right? Like if you talk about a guy who's done more dirty work than anybody, like Tyler Adams is to be on that list, right? It's just not a stat position, and it's not a sexy position. Weston in a lot of cases is in that mold, but we have Weston scoring some pretty big goals. Not a ton of them, but the ones that he has scored have been fairly dramatic at moments. So
the Champions League as well, right?
You guys know how much I love a good list.
Yeah. Well, you've been diving in, Big Tones. You got plenty of time for it. Okay, as a reminder, Coppa Italia happening today on Paramount Plus. AC Milan versus Lecce. That'll kick off at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Tune in and see if Christian Pulisic gets the start in this one, or if he's going to get rested, maybe come off the bench. We'll have to wait and see. All right, we're going to take our first break of the show because we want more time with our very special guest, Ashley Cole, right after this. Don't go anywhere.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Ronaldo! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
All right, welcome back into the show. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola. And we have a very special guest joining us today, arguably the Premier League's greatest left back of all time. He was inducted into the Premier League's Hall of Fame back in March in 2024. He was part of the Arsenal Invincible season. He's won 3 Premier League trophies, 7 FA Cups, the Champions League, the Europa League, any trophy that's out there outside of the World Cup, even though he played in 3 of those with the 3 Lions. He's won it. He's done it all. We're so excited to have him on the show. Ashley Cole, everybody. Let's welcome him in.
Thank you. What a warm welcome. Kind
Ashley,
words.
I love it. Well, listen, when I think about you and what you've accomplished in your career, the first word that comes out is winner. I mean, you have won everywhere you've gone, and it's been nice to see you transition into coaching as well, where you won the U21 Euros with Lee Carsley when you were part of that staff. So you clearly permeate what it means to be a winner. We're thrilled that you're here with us. So when I think about your career overall, and I know that you're in the coaching mode now, and me and Charlie are in the UEFA coaching course, so we're excited to pick your brain. But which coach has had the most influence on you during your career, or should I say, what have you taken from one of your coaches and now applied it to what you're doing when you get to coach the next generation?
I think all of them. I think my journey now obviously in a different style. I think you have to look at every manager I've played under. I think I've been lucky enough to work under Arsene Wenger, where I learned about the management side, understanding your players, kind of giving them a little bit of freedom. Jose Mourinho, a little bit more strict and disciplined and high standards in training, very methodical in the way he works. And then Carlo Ancelotti, again, similar mindset as Arsene Wenger, let you play, but we just held so much respect for him. And, as a young coach now and wanting to emulate one of them one day is, how do I lead my team? How do I lead players? So I'm taking a little bit from all of the managers, the good and the bad, because it wasn't all, roses, and trying to implement that into my style and how I want to lead.
Ashley, yeah, I wrote the list down. You mentioned Wenger, Jose. I'll throw in Scolari, Hiddink, Don Carlo. You played for, like, everybody. Like, who was the guy that drove you the most? Who was the guy that every day was looking? Some managers, you're going to be different than most of these guys when you manage, right? But just drove you every day the most.
Look, I don't want to take anything away from the other managers. Some big names you mentioned there, but in terms of instilling that desire and willingness and a want to win, I think it has to be Jose Mourinho. I came from Arsenal, which was very successful, and played under Arsene Wenger, who, as I mentioned, was a different type of manager. And then you go to Chelsea and, yeah, for sure, the intensity of training, the intensity in these words and his language and the drive and real precision in what he speaks about, I think I would have to say Jose Mourinho.
So I'm curious, in all these atmospheres, you spoke highly about Chelsea's training environment, but was there a player that pushed you to new levels, either technically or mentally, that you can remember being like, man, this guy is really pushing me to be that much better?
I think everyone, all of them. I think, look, again, and I never want to come on, podcast or do interviews and disrespect, what I did at Arsenal and the players and the relationships I had at Arsenal. I was around top individuals, top players. But when I went to Chelsea, it was a little bit different. Maybe, it was a changing of the guard a little bit of Arsenal. Players were leaving and contracts wasn't getting renewed. And then I went to Chelsea and it was, the levels in training was incredible. The standard and the expectation of each other, of the other players, that just pushed you for me, to new levels. And I didn't experience that. At Arsenal, training was good, it was tick-a-tacker and pretty. But I went to Chelsea and that was war. And, that started from the manager, that started from that walk from the training ground building to the pitch. It was, no, put your shin pads on because we are ready to go to war. And I didn't experience that before and didn't understand it, but then obviously had to understand it very quickly to reach that level and to be around these players. We all held each other accountable for the way we train, and the aim was to win.
But which player gave you the toughest challenge?
I think all of them. Look,
if you had to pick one-on-one.
We got John Terry.
Yeah, I'll say John Terry because of the kind of expectations of every individual on a daily basis. You couldn't have a day off. There was not instances in training where you could be tired or, you're letting your runner go or not putting in a tackle. No. This is the level we need to hit every single day to win. And that just drove every single player. The new players that came in got told quite sternly, this is the levels, whether it was, with language or 6 studs in your legs, which is so, I don't mean to say it like that, but that's what it was. It was, This is, you have to come here to win. And that set the tone for every single session and every single match day.
Okay, so Ashley, now let's say you take over a team yourself and you have all these experiences, and I think that all three of us have coached over here on this side, and obviously we're trying to grow as coaches ourselves. How do you find that balance? I think that's what I'm struggling with. So it's more like a personal question between me and you, where you know what it takes. You have that kind of Mourinho-esque John Terry mentality, Frank Lampard, like we have to win all the time, even if it's a sprints before practice or in the games, the biggest games, it's always the same approach. But then you know that you have to kind of beat your players where they are. So you have a little bit of that Arsene Wenger and Carlo Ancelotti kind of sprinkle in there of I'd say being cool, but just being a little bit more freedom for the players. Is there a middle ground there, or do you feel like it's an either or? And how would you approach it?
No, there's certainly a middle ground. I think you certainly have to be really understanding of personnel, different types of players. But ultimately, you've got to, as coaches and managers, we've got to lead this team. So we have to sell the story to the players of, if we want to win, if we want to give everything of ourselves, this is what we expect on a daily basis. This is stuff that we cannot tolerate. The standards in training, whether it is a warm-up drill or a passing drill, it has to be done with an elite mentality. And it starts from us as coaches. If I would have, I've seen coaches now and they stand on the touchline and don't really give any information or help the players, right? Whether it's a passing drill, they're not driving it. And I'm not saying you have to drive everything, because you need to let the players lead. You need to let the players find themselves. You want the players to lead because you're not walking over that white line with them. But there has to be a level of understanding that to win, this is the expectations and this is the demands I will put on my team. And again, I've been lucky enough in my coaching journey so far to win. So, you certainly got to find yourself as a coach and find what you can tolerate yourself and what the players can tolerate. But as a coach and a leader, you have to lead and you have to drive these players through it.
Yeah, that's. I want to talk about your coaching journey, because you obviously, the youth national teams, being an assistant coach, I did it backwards. I was a professional head coach before I became an assistant coach with our youth national teams for 5.5 years, Ashley. I wish it was reversed, right? I wish it was not standing in front of the podium and being that guy every day. How important has that been to just be able to sit back, let lead do the thing, even though you have your input, but kind of learn sort of the ins and outs on how you manage the whole thing? Because it's completely different, right? When you're standing up in front of the room and now you're the guy trying to sell everything.
Yeah, well, look, my journey started 6 years ago. As soon as I finished my, obviously, playing career, it was important that I went back to the start, if you want to call it to the start. Yes, I had a great career as a football player on the pitch, but, when you walk off that pitch, you have to learn a different skill set. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to find myself. So I tried to do it the right way I felt was better for me and would make me learn, develop, find myself as a coach. I went to Chelsea under 15s and found, I've always been involved in the tactical part of football. Even as a player, I always wanted to know, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Whatever the training session was. But also I wanted to find out how I can lead, how I are going to be perceived as a coach. Is it just because I played at a high level, people just respect me but don't want to follow me, if that makes sense, and believe in what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's really, really important. I went back to my start. I didn't carve out a career straight away from Arsenal under 16s as a player straight into a first team. I had to learn and I had to understand people and I had to develop, and I was put in at times in a cage with animals and I had to find a way. So the way I felt, I need to go back to the start, get my coaching badges, find out how I will be as a manager, find out what's actually needed to be a top young coach, find out also what's really, really important is how the young kids are evolving and developing, and try to understand the new generation of people and young players. And yet fast forward to 7 years down the line, had a lot of experience in first team football now. And of course, now working with so many young players and trying to, again, give them a kind of a pathway and a guide to England senior team, but understand we want to win. And yeah, I think a number two hard to measure how good a number two is, right? There's, if we win, it's always the manager. If we lose, it's the manager. How good is a number two? So I had to find my way in football like I did as a player. And now, with a great manager, Lee Carsley, that allows me to lead and be kind of sometimes the forefront of what he wants to say. So I take a lot of the team meetings. I take a lot of the sessions. Most of the sessions I do debrief. I do a lot of important meetings. So the players trust me, and obviously Lee Carsley trusts me. So yeah, you do feel a little bit of the less pressure when you're number one, but again, I think through my experiences of 6 years now, I feel like I'm ready to step up, stand on the touchline, and be the number one. And whether I have to take criticism, I took it as a player, and I'm ready to stand and take it on my shoulders.
Ashley, I love the fact that you played it at the highest level, both club and internationally, and now you're transitioning. You've done club professionally, and you're now doing it internationally. But we'll get into that conversation later with Pochettino and kind of expectations when you're coaching national team versus club. But I'm curious from your point of view, do you find yourself leaning towards the more manager side of coaching or the tactical structural side? And has that changed since you came in at the U15 level?
I've always been interested and always a fan of, the tactical side. I played in many teams that played in different styles and had different personnel that really accentuated a style. So, I certainly understood it's not all about a structure and a formation. You've got to fit the right pieces in these formations and structures, be very adaptable, but also understanding of personnel. And I think, again, working on a day-to-day basis, understanding what goes into planning, organization, Saturday, Tuesday games is different to international football where you might not see these players for 6 months, which happened in our case. And how do you portray a style when you don't see players for 6 months, but on a Saturday you expect them to win? Internationally now I'm talking about.
Right.
That part is all down to the connection. Okay, so the relationship with the players and then putting them in positions where they thrive and they can be the best version of themselves. Because ultimately every formation now is the same, whether you build in a back four or two in midfield, or you play 5 at the back and high and wide wingers. It's understanding how can you adapt and adjust in game to your opponent. You're not going to sit in a back 5 if you've got one striker you're up against. That doesn't make sense. So it's understanding the nuances of every structure, every formation, but then you have to be adaptable with that. But for me, the key is, and again, what we really thrive on with England under 21s is that connection, that support.
Are you texting? Are you texting them, calling them, like keeping tabs with them in those 6 months? Like, how strong is that relationship off the pitch?
It's strong.
Yeah,
it's strong. They understand. Listen, we don't get to see them too much, right? So when they come on camp, there's a certain expectation of how they're going to behave, but there's no rules. We treat them as adults. They're at top clubs. They know how to act, how to behave, and look after themselves. So again, we give them a lot of responsibility, and that comes relationship. That you get something back. We're not going to tell you off. It's fine. You make a mistake, the consequences of that. You might go home and never put on the 3 lines again, which for us sounds very easy. But these players really respect coming with the 21s. We in constant contact with the players, always watching them, of course, but I think the dialogue off the field, I think, is key. And we keep them relationships ticking over.
Now, Ashley, I want to talk about your playing career specifically for the 3 lines. You played in 3 World Cups. You played against the U.S. in the 2010 World Cup, and that was a 1-1 draw, so you didn't beat us. So we're happy about that. You know what? Thank Rob Green for us for pushing that ball into the net. That's really nice.
Why do you have to move? Just the guy he made a mistake.
He made a mistake. All right, it's fine. It's fine. But what I marvel about is how the English players have to manage the pressure and expectations from the English media and the public. Not just World Cup after World Cup, like game after game after game. I mean, there's a certain standard that the fans and the media want to see. And I feel like we're starting to evolve over here in the States, where we're putting the same type of pressure on our team, especially because we're hosting the World Cup next summer. Yeah. Do you have any insights or how the players should be trying to manage that? Because they're trying to hit back at us a little bit with some comments. Not just us. We're nice. We're really nice, Ashley. It's not us as pundits. It's all the other shows and people that are criticizing. But is there something that you did as a group or individually to kind of manage that so you could go out there and perform at your highest level?
Yeah, I think it's a really difficult one. Of course, you watch the US national team way more than what I do. And you have the advantage to see how these guys are performing for their clubs, week in, week out. They're top players playing all over Europe. I think maybe the most players playing in Europe in many years. So, of course, as players, we certainly understand that there is an expectation on how we perform. And with privilege that you have as a football player, there has to come a little bit of accountability on your own performance and as a group. I played in you call it a so-called golden generation, and we can never get it over the line. And, to this day, we still get reminded of that. And we have to accept that with the players that we had, the level that we was playing at, we just couldn't get over the line. And we have to take that on the chin, and that's going to live with us.
Why is that, do you think, looking back?
Look, I spoke about it before. I always feel it's a mix, right? Maybe I still don't agree that it was about egos. I never felt there was a lot of egos in our team and in our group. I love being around all of them, to be honest. But maybe was we managed well? And again, what I mean by that is, was the pressure from the fans and the media, the fine line between winning and making people happy? Because again, working in the coaching industry now and understanding when we played with the England senior team, it's not always about the best players on the pitch at the same time. And I stick by that. I really stick by that, because sometimes it's very hard to be selfless, right? When you've got Steven Gerrard, a Frank Lampard, a Paul Scholes, a David Beckham, Owen Hargreaves. We have Michael Carrick, so many talented players in that midfield area. But
you got to find the right chemistry.
There you go. Did we have the right balance? Did we have the right chemistry? Did we have the right formula to win? In my opinion, and seeing it now from the other side and understanding it's not about all the best players on the pitch at the same time, maybe it don't work. And it's a lot for a coach or a manager to take, because there is a lot of external pressure and noise to pick the so-called best names. But when you're putting 22 players together and they all are top players in their own right for their clubs, sometimes you got to take that brave decision to go, you might have to sit out. You might have to sit out. And that takes bravery from a coach and a manager. And it is hard. It is really, really hard. But as I said, we have to be accountable as players. And don't get me wrong, I remember when I was getting criticised, I'm like, who is this pundit? I'm not having him. What's he saying? You know what I mean? That's the natural. That's just the animal inside you.
Charlie Davies. It was named Charlie Davies.
Hey, no, it's Jimmy Evil Conrad. Jimmy Evil Conrad.
But no, when I look back now, it's like, do you know what? Like, when you're in this profession, you're there to be fired at, and you have to take it.
Yeah.
But now, again, with social media, a lot of players use it to their advantage, and now they're using it also to their advantage to go against pundits and influential players or ex-players. So, look, I think there's a balance with me if I'm ever speaking about or to young generation players or being a pundit on a game, I try not to be negative. I try to be constructive in what I say. I try to leave little nuggets where I'm trying to help them going forward. But Charlie, I've seen you're a little bit too harsh, mate.
He is. Thank you for noting that.
No, I'm
Actually,
joking. I'm joking.
You might come on at the perfect time, because we're going through this struggle here with Pochettino, and everyone wants all the names. And the three of us keep saying, man, when the roster comes out, it might not be all the names, right, that you want to see on there. He has to pick the best team, and that's what you got to do. My question is here, your time in America, like, did you learn anything here? Is there anything that you were like, I like what these guys do? Or is there the other things you're like, oh man, I would never have my guys do some of this stuff? Whether it's you played for Bruce, right? You played for Ziggy,
Yes.
I think, right? Yeah. Well, so two really well-respected coaches, obviously, in the U.S. And maybe from a playing standpoint, what you saw in your time in the league that might help you now in your coaching journey.
Yeah, Bruce and Ziggy were top. I think how they helped me kind of transition. Yes, I was playing, European football, Champions League football, but I didn't understand the landscape of the MLS. Everything was new to me. Again, yes, I knew some ex-teammates that also played in America, and in LA Galaxy, so I knew Robbie Keane and Steven Gerrard and Gio dos Santos. But yeah, it was hard for me to come over. You know, I didn't understand how hard the travel was, how demanding the league actually was. It was very physical. The weather was super hot, and I wasn't used to that. And I think Bruce and Ziggy understood that, and you know, ushered me into the game time and my minutes a little bit slower than what I wanted, but with an understanding they were very old school in the way they coached, but top guys. You know, when we talk about the Arsene Wengers of man management and the Carlo Ancelottis, Bruce and Ziggy was brilliant in putting people and players together and creating a great environment to be in. And again, you know, the league was very tough for me. I came at maybe 34, 35, maybe even older. And physically, I had to really get up to speed very fast because the technical aspect was there, but the physical aspect, maybe I doubted. And, you know, I was shocked. I remember playing against Alphonso Davies at such a young age. And I'm like, wow, I can't compete with these young guys with this, you know, high level speed in this heat. You know, I had to find a way to play a little bit different and understand the league, respect the league, and understand that it's totally different to Europe. And yeah, I really loved it there. I understood the landscape. I enjoyed my time over there. I enjoyed the fans. I enjoyed my teammates, and had so much fun over there.
It's a perfect transition, Ash, because now we're going to talk about Pochettino coming into a new league, trying to understand the player pool and the structure. So how long do you think it should take a national team manager to know his pool, settle on a core group? Do you think it's a matter of months, or do you think it's going to take him a full year? We're talking April, May, just before that World Cup, to have a real good sense of who his 26 are and what the right formation, the right style is, and who he can depend on.
Yeah, I think, look, I'll just give you my experiences of how we kind of find or found a way. Firstly, England, we set up, we always have structure. Okay, we understand the style we want to play. Maurizio will have the style he wants to play. Then how do you fit the players from your player pool that is watching week in, week out into that system? One question. Okay, then there's always going to be these players that are in form, out of form, dipping, your mainstays that you always have to select. Okay, so you've got your star players. Whether Christian Pulisic is not playing well, I assume he always has to come, and he's always going to be selected.
No doubt.
So there's nuances around how you select, but certainly going into a tournament, you must know your style. You must know your key players. You must understand that there's going to be some variables of players in form, out of form. There could be an up and coming star that you should also be looking at, and then looking at your player pool with the younger generation, your under 21s or your under 23s. So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to fill in. But again, you know, I don't know Maurizio's methodology. I don't know the way he thinks. It is harder than what you think because, again, how many players can he select from Europe without the club managers moaning and saying, you can't take these because we've got a big game.
That happens to you guys too.
Yeah, of course, and you got to respect it, right? But again, you got to know, you know, you've got to trust your player pool. And, you know, from the under 15s, I certainly know our player pool. I certainly know the depth of the squads, the depth of the players we have, and they have to fit into our style. So again, you're getting to the critical point where Maurizio has to now start finding a formula and a formation and people, and he's got to start looking at key players to hopefully perform at the highest level for their club. And he's got to keep trusting these players to have that connection and, you know, a little bit of accountability going, come on, you know, you represent your country. You've not, of course, I've never won anything for my country, nor has America in the World Cup.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity to, win a World Cup in your hometown. Do you think they can win it?
Well, we think we can make a deep run. That's probably the best. I mean, everything's open for. What am I going to say here, Chuck? Chuck, you're laughing at me. We would need a lot of things to fall our way, I think, to make that happen. That's being as honest and transparent as possible.
So you're saying there's a chance?
So I'm saying there's a chance.
Great.
1 in a million talk, baby. Let's go.
So this is now, maybe what Maurizio could use as his ammunition to push these players. There's not that many people that believe that US
right
can win a World Cup. And I'm not saying they can.
No, but they haven't necessarily given hope in the way they've performed. So if you can't beat Panama on home soil,
fuels that fire. I get it.
How can you go, hey, we got the World Cup, we're ready. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it's difficult.
Come on. If England was stuttering all over Europe and they just barely get into the World Cup, do you think that the supporters in England are going to go, it's coming home?
Well, some of them after a couple pints.
No, but I'll tell you right now, I'm sure you would feel England have a pretty damn good chance to win the World Cup if things go right. It feels like they're getting closer. They're getting closer to that point. Like they've gotten just so close to securing, that hope of winning the trophy. And it feels like the talent's there. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, obviously, you have to have a little luck, but the talent is certainly there to win a World Cup.
No, it is. Certainly for England. I think you look at, as I mentioned, the player pool that we have is very deep and vast, and there's some real high-class youth coming through. And also the players who's playing in the senior team now are at a great age to push on now. They've experienced that little bit of, I use the word failure, but they've been one game away or 90 minutes away from being absolutely heralded in an amazing vein of World Cup winners, European winners. That is unbelievable. And the player pool is there to do it. It's just giving that belief. I believe they can do it. I believe they can do it. And I think the country believes they can do it. And hopefully Thomas can, make these players believe that they can go and take England on to the next step and be loved worldwide.
That's until they lose to the US in the 2026 World Cup group stage. And then next thing you know, everyone's gone and the country's upside down.
So Ashley, I'm thinking about your answer before about your time in MLS and how much you enjoyed it and playing for Ziggy and Bruce. Would you ever consider coaching in MLS? Is that a possibility?
Yes, I think me and my agent.
Do we need to make some calls? Because we know a couple teams that are struggling right now, Ashley.
Struggle bus. Hey, New England, we're in the coaching search right now.
We should also mention we've had Jesse Marsh, who was the co-host on our show. He got the Canada job. We had Benny Feilhaber, who was helping us out. He got the Oakland Roots job. Like this show gets people coaching jobs. So if you're looking for something over here in the
it'll
States,
cost you though, Ashley. This guy, he's expensive, man. He's expensive.
No,
I'm just saying.
You came to Boston with Roma. Friendly at Fenway. You saw how the people absolutely love the sport in this city. Incredible city. I know you'd be welcome. So if you need me to put in a little call to the press, I can do that. But I mean, surely there's going to be suitors for you because of your experience, both 100%. Not only as a player, but as a manager. You've won a damn trophy in European competition, international football. You've coached with some of the biggest names in football. So I would assume that your phone's going to be ringing.
Yeah, no, I've had a lot of conversations with my agent and clubs, a few in MLS, a few over Europe. And I think now certainly is the time that I'm ready to stand up and lead and be the number one. Of course, I have that self-confidence to do that, but I think it has to be right. I want to be able to work on a daily basis with, the youth, the new generation, but also senior players. I also want to, have a chance to win. So I think, all the factors have to be right, but yeah, I'm certainly on the lookout, and we'll see what comes up. And yeah, if you've got any numbers, mate, put me in.
We might have some
All right,
leads.
so-
We might have some leads.
So okay, so you're here. Jimmy's the owner of the club. I'm the technical director. Charlie's he's the trainer. You got to sell your club to us now. Hey, Ashley, okay, we're interested. Tell me how you want to play. What does if you have all your players, what does the picture look like in your head on Ashley Cole style?
Okay, 4-2-3-1, control, dominate, and attack. Very adaptable in the way we play. You know, whatever opponent we're up against, will be very adaptable and interchangeable. Yes, we're saying it's a 4-2-3-1, but whether the 10 drops down and we play a single pivot, or we have 2 high 8s and 1 6, it all depends on the opponent and where the space is and where we want to, you know, kill and be really effective in the way we play. Certainly going to build and play out from the back, because I want to attract teams onto us so we can show our great footballing style and play through lines, but also understand that we want to attack and kill behind. Penetration, runs, enthusiasm, intensity, high press, win the ball back high up, control the game, sustain attacks, you know, a little bit of that.
I love how you're sticking with the 4 back, because hey, you're a true left back. That's what your position is. But it feels like, especially with the U.S. men's national team, that we're now seeing a back 3, and you're playing with wing backs. Maybe it's a 3-4-2-1, a 3-4-3. How have you seen the left back position change and evolve since you've left it? Because it feels like the left backs, the left wing backs, are asked to do much more coming into the midfield. Are you a fan of that, or do you still think you can get much more out of the traditional left back?
No, like I said, it depends on the profile of the fullback or the 6 or the centre half. You know, I think the 3, I understand why people build in a 3, because it gives you a little bit more control. It gives you the 3 plus a 2. It gives you width and height and depth. But in terms of the way USA want to play, you're saying, are they playing the 5 at the back?
They did for the first time last game against Japan,
And we look good.
And it looked good for the first time. Before that, it was rough. And I want to throw in the caveat: we didn't have Anthony Robinson for a majority of that time. The first couple of games that Pochettino had Anthony Robinson, it looked pretty damn good against Jamaica. Then when he left, it hasn't been the same. So,
Antonio, talking about left backs, he just gives you a different dimension, right? How to play. I think, you know, watching him over the past seasons at Fulham, he's certainly one of their best players due to the fact that he covers that whole left side alone. He's robust. He can, you know, physically strong. He's got a good delivery from bylines. He can play in most areas of the pitch. He can defend well. He defends the back post well. So I can see why he's influential in the way Fulham play. But in terms of the way USA play, yes, you know, when you miss a key player like that for your national team, it does hinder. But again, as I mentioned, you have to find ways. You have to find a different personnel or a different player to fill in. And you have to adjust. Whether you don't have a left wing back who can bomb up and down like Antonio, you have to find a way. Whether you build and use the right wing back in a different way and you make him the focal point of the team, or whether it's one of your 6s or one midfielder that drops out and plays from the side. There's loads of way to fill the gaps for players that you miss, but you certainly have to find a way and a style and a formation that fits and suits obviously the majority of your players, or it don't work.
All right, Ashley, 2 quick questions for you. One is tradition, and one I'm just curious before we let you go, and we appreciate your time. The first one is, who is the best American player that you ever played against?
Oh, I'm going to have to say Clint Dempsey.
Did you ever catch an elbow? Did you ever catch an elbow?
Yes. Yeah. And I got the watch out, dog. I got that one as well.
That's part of the charm.
Exactly. But no, he was a great character. I think, you know, when you talk about leadership and being robust and physically strong. Mentally, I'd boot him all over the place, and he took it. He stood up to it, and that was our mentality back then, and that was our kind of culture that we was up against. So I would have to say Clint Dempsey.
All right, that's a good shout. And then lastly, this is tradition. What's your best jersey swap in your career? A player that you always wanted, you had the opportunity to play against them, you got to maybe swap their jersey, maybe they waved you off. I don't know.
Did you ever get waved off, by the way? Did you ever go for a jersey and the guy's like, go inside?
Because Jimmy's been waved off.
Yeah,
by Raquelme. Listen, it's a pretty big name. Raquelme waved me off in Copa America. That's a big one. Yeah.
That's a bit. Did you put your head down and just walk past?
Yeah, I asked him. He didn't even make eye contact with me, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm just gonna keep walking.
No, I've been lucky. I don't even want to show off, but there is.
No, we want you to show off. Just pretend the cameras aren't there. It's just us four.
Okay.
Chatting here.
I think it has to be Ronaldo.
Brazilian Ronaldo or
R9?
Cristiano?
Which one?
No. I humbled myself. I didn't go for R9.
Okay.
I went for Cafu on that.
Yeah.
That day. So
Fair.
That's a good switch.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Did you get Cafu?
I got Cafu.
Oh man,
What a jersey! What a player!
That's
Roberto
a
Carlos.
flexing.
All right,
He's flexing
what a
now. He's
Wait,
flexing.
so Cristiano, you swapped.
I thought with Cristiano. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta
pretty
make this point because so I got to meet Ashley when we were doing rehab together in France. So after the car accident, trying to build myself up, and I got the opportunity to come into this French rehab facility close to Bordeaux. I come in, I see Ashley Cole and Essien, and I was pretty low at this point because I had thought I was ready for training and I was far from it. So they shipped me to this facility. And when I saw you, Ash, you were so open and friendly, and you remotivated me in a great way. So I got to thank you for that. And then on top of that, later on, he was playing Chelsea. He was playing Manchester United in Manchester. I went to go visit Stu Holden with my brother, and he got us tickets, and I got to witness Chelsea beat Manchester United at Old Trafford. Chelsea's was phenomenal, and Ashley Cole, you killed it. So I appreciate you, man.
Nice.
And I want to see you. I want to see you succeed, and I think you deserve that opportunity. So.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Ashley Cole, everybody,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate your time. And we are going to call all the MLS teams that we know to make sure you'll be coaching over here very, very soon. Ashley, thank you so much. We'll see you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you,
guys.
Ash.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Ashley Cole. Okay. All right. So
Wow.
yeah. Your initial thoughts. What was your favorite part of that interview, Big Tones?
Man, it's like
There's a lot to get
asking
into.
to. Yeah, there's so much to get into. I do love the fact that as a coach in his coaching journey, he went back to the start. Like, there's so much to love about the interview that stuck out for me. And then his comments about Bruce and Ziggy stick out to me, because you never know how when these guys come. This guy, I read the list: Wenger, Mourinho, Sven-Goran Eriksson, and the national team, like everybody. Rafa Benitez,
Carlo,
hitting Carlo, like, and he still found time to learn something from Bruce and Ziggy, and sounds like he liked it, but just seems first time I've ever met him. Seems like a really good guy, and is dedicated to being a good coach, and not just coaching because you want to coach and be in the game and have your name out there, like learning coaching and all that stuff. That's pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, Chuck, I would jump in and say my favorite part was him talking about essentially the English midfield and how it's not always the best players that are going to be or should be on the team that are actually going to go out there and give you success. You got to find that balance and find the right mix and chemistry of guys, which we've obviously seen with Mauricio Pochettino and essentially that's what if we pick up his underlying message, Mauricio Pochettino, it's like, trust the process. I'm trying to find the right mix of guys. You guys have to give me the time to do it. And we maybe got a little impatient, and it was nice to see that a formation change maybe unlocked some of that. But I thought that was interesting because he's played with some of the best of the best. And for him to acknowledge that maybe the chemistry wasn't right, even though we had some of the world's best players, is fascinating perspective.
I don't know if you guys are taking this all in. That's one of the best left backs in world football history.
I know.
Not the Premier League, in world football history.
Well, until Jedi Robinson takes over.
Yeah, exactly. But to Tony's point, he understood that your footballing career as a player is one thing. When you coach, oh, sure, you have some advantages in this next phase as a coach, but you have to start from the beginning. You have to redefine who you are as a coach. And there's a lot of learning. And the fact that you start at the 15s, which is it's humbling. You're making a lot of mistakes and you're learning from those mistakes. And that's where you're supposed to grow. And I think with that patience, and the non-ego, because you have to take that out of the equation, it has allowed him to move forward in the right way. And Tony, you said you wish you had done it the reverse. And that's because when you get your chance, you have that experience behind you. You're not learning as you go. Obviously, it's great to talk about in hindsight, but tremendous interview. I absolutely loved it.
Chuck, this is what bugs me about what's happening at U.S. soccer now, because I went through it for 5.5 years. You two guys in your coaching journey, just like Ashley Cole, should be part of the U.S. men's youth national team system. You should be there. You guys should be there every single camp you're available for. And the way things have changed, and I'm on a soapbox right now that I can feel my heart rate going up. You guys should be part of this, because what you guys did, and I'm not disrespecting any of the coaches that are there, but every guy in your position, when Tab Ramos was there, it didn't matter if it was Dooley, Marcelo Balboa. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about the guys that he brought in that have been in World Cups, that have played in Europe, that had been with the national team. You guys need to be part of those teams. And why, okay, you hire some coach that no one really knows that does a great interview, great. But guys like you, just like Ashley, should be with the U.S. youth teams learning every single day. For me, like I said, it was the best 5.5 years. I can appreciate why Ashley Cole would like being with the youth national teams. Not like it, love it. It's so much fun. You learn so much. The players learn so much from you, and everybody gets better that way. And that's what bugs me. And I've told you guys off camera, but it just listening to Ashley and his time there, what did he say, 6 years with the youth teams, just reinforces my belief that guys in your position, and there are other guys in your position too, that should be with the youth national teams. Every damn camp we have, every single month there's a camp somewhere. You guys should be, or guys like you, not necessarily you two only, but guys like you should be in those camps every week.
Say it louder.
Tones, I reached out.
You know how many times I've said?
Yeah, I know.
The fact that you reached out, Jimmy, should be all you have to tell me. I don't know what your story is, but the fact that you reached out to someone at U.S. Soccer, I've never heard you be in a U.S. camp, which already it gets me mad. I don't know what your story is. You might be telling me now. You're bringing me in next camp.
I reached out and I was told I would be put on a list.
What list? Like what? You want to be an assistant coach with the youth national team?
It's a waiting list. It's a waiting list.
See this like
that's what I was told.
I don't want to take away from Ashley Cole, but it just what he's done reinforces what my belief is, that guys like you should be in those camps, every single camp, everyone, bar none. Yeah. Anyway, I'm done. Great interview.
Especially if like you have that whole understanding of the picture, right? So, from my standpoint, and there are a number of guys who were in the youth national team system and then had a successful professional career, and then also play on the national team. There's guys who went through the system, the youth national team, and made it as professionals, but maybe not with the U.S. men's national team. And then there's guys who made it through the U.S. national team, didn't have a professional career, but got into coaching. And so there are a number of levels, but the guys who have done it all, those are the guys who can inspire just by being there, Tony, like you said. And those are the guys you want to learn all of those things in between the actual inspiration of, I've done it. I've lived it.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what I've seen that's worked, what doesn't work, what the modern game's asking for. Being a coach, being an analyst, being someone who's a talking head in media, having those different avenues and paths all shape into your understanding of the game and your experiences. So Tony, spot on it. And there are a number of guys who I think would help the youth setup, in various ways.
Really, I don't even call anymore. I know we got to go. I don't even call anymore because I don't want to hear the answer, because I know the answer. I just don't. I'm serious. The 100% truth.
We're gonna end the show. We're gonna
Craig,
end it right there.
I got this comment though. Craig, he said, "Do I still have time to wind up Chuck?" How could I be wind up when we had Ashley Cole on the show?
Ashley Cole came on the show.
There's no chance of winding me up.
Ashley Cole was on the show. We appreciate Ashley Cole. That was awesome. Great interview. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. We'll come back and join you on Thursday live here on the Glosso America YouTube channel, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Let's make it happen once again. Thank you to Ashley Cole. Thank you to everybody for hanging out with us. We'll see you soon. See you on Thursday. Later.